Welcome to Dad's Next Project.
Welcome. It's Dad's Next Project. Today's my guest, Jason from State 48 Roofing and Menace in Business.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming today.
Absolutely.
So we mentioned State 48, eight-figure roofing business. You're a founder of Menace in Business, was business coaching. You guys are taking along crazy like that. Father of five.
Father of five.
Right. Nice.
Beautiful wife.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about your family, man. So running these, you're building two businesses. Like, how important is your family in all this? Like, how does that drive you? So,
to be honest, my first child is actually from my previous marriage. So I got married super young when I was about 21, maybe 22, and it goes both ways, right? But I made a lot of mistakes of not making my family a priority. It was a brief marriage, only about 2 years, but I did have a child during that. But I learned a lot. And just from listening to books and following successful couples, I learned that no matter what it is, your wife is first, right? Love your kids. Kids are great. Kids are wonderful. Now, obviously they need a lot of attention because they can't fend for themselves.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like your relationship should be God, your spouse, and then your kids. And a lot of people get that mixed up. And stereotypically, the husband makes God or their business first, and then their wife, and then their kids. And the mom is all stereotypical, obviously, but the mom will make their kids first, or maybe God, but kids first, and then God, and then their husband, or husband, and then God, or not at all, right? Yeah. And maybe they do work too, so there might be business in there somewhere, but most of the time, kids are their number one, and so there's a disconnect. Yeah. So as you have two different priorities over a 10, 15, 20-year marriage, going that way, you are, from day one, you're dividing. You still might be married, you still might be in the same household, but at the end of the day, you have to get on the same page with your spouse. And one of the things that I've struggled with this I'm married 10 years, in May will be my 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But with me, it came down to making date night a priority. Okay. That literally changed my marriage, because I went 2-3 months without taking my wife on a date, building a business, right? Saturdays, Sundays, weekends, going 100 miles an hour, working 12-hour, 18-hour days, and having kids in the meantime. And it's not that I didn't love her. It's not that I want to make her a priority. It just, I was waiting for her to kind of instigate it, right? To kind of start it. And at least as the male role, and after communicating with my wife about this, I realized that she didn't want to get the babysitter and pick the restaurant, and all I did was just show up.
Yeah. She doesn't want to do all the work to go out.
And I was on my phone. So I started doing this about a year ago. I would either leave my phone in my house, and house burns down, I don't care, to be honest. Yeah. Business burns down, nothing is gonna happen over a 2 or 3 hour time on a weekend night. Yeah. Nothing is going to happen. If it is, you don't own a business and you're an idiot. Plain and simple. Yeah. Or your mindset is that, like, I can't not have my phone. Yes, you can. Yeah. The babysitter had my wife's phone, so I'd leave my phone entirely, because you see, go to restaurants and you see husband on a phone, wife on a phone, and they're eating dinner and they're not talking to each other for 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time. Yeah. But then they're on their own phones looking at, social media or emails or text messages or whatever. And I'm like, you literally went on a date to go spend time with that person, and you're distracted by some other person or persons. And that was one of the biggest things I did, is I started doing that. I was on my phone, and she gave me crap for it. I'm like, we're waiting for our food. What's your problem? And then, over time, she's like, this is you and I time. Make it you and I time. So I left my phone, or put on Do Not Disturb. I literally just put it in the glove box now. Yeah. Yeah, just our middle console, leave it. I'm like, my sitter, because I have 5 kids. Yeah. My sitter has my wife's phone. Hey, I don't have my phone on me. Call my wife if there's any questions. She has hers on, because she doesn't have a problem putting her phone away, because it's not attached to 2 businesses, right? Yeah. Where mine is. And so that was one of the biggest aha moments that changed a lot is setting up the sitter, because I would make her do that. Yeah. I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, hey, date night, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. I'll pick the reservations. Okay, cool. Well, And there's another thing too. And every marriage is different, right? Some of them don't care. They'll take care of the sitter. They'll get everybody the macaroni and cheese and whatnot before you leave, right? Yeah. But like you still have pajamas and bedtime and food and something along those lines, or at least make sure they're fed or taken care of, or the sitter is prepared to take care of them. Somebody has to do that, right? It's not just like, hey, sitter, fend for yourself, figure it out for 3 hours while we're gone. Yeah. And so getting those things dialed in to have a quality night. So getting the babysitter and the food and the pajamas and all that stuff, baths and all that stuff taken care of or at least set up was huge. Leaving my phone was huge. And don't even let her choose where to eat. You can ask her like Monday, but don't like, first of all, nowadays you have the reservations. Anywhere nice, you have the reservations or you can't get in anyways. So you can't just like pull up to a place and be like steak 44 and be like, hey, table for two. They're like, yeah, in 3 weeks. Yeah. So, but, and then like I said, ask her what she wants. In my family, my wife is very indecisive when it comes to that kind of stuff with food and whatnot. So I don't even ask her anymore. I just choose it. And when I say, hey, we're gonna do date night, she'll say, oh, can we? Now she'll either won't say anything, which means I get to choose, or like you get one chance to pick. So like
she gets one shot to.
Yeah, I was like, say something, because if not, I'm not going to freaking McDonald's, because there's nothing open or available, and I don't want to wait an hour and a half in line. Yeah. So that was, I don't even know where we were going with that, but that's that. If you want to set up date night, that is not a proven system, but it's been very helpful for me personally. And I just want to, like I said, share, but that took me 9 years to figure out.
9 years. So how has that helped with her supporting you on the late nights for business, or because you're getting the you time now? Does that help? Have you noticed the difference in how much she's behind you on the other stuff?
Yeah. And she really is supportive as long as I communicate. And when I don't communicate, she shuts down. And I get mad at her for shutting down, but it's because I'm not communicating with her correctly.
Oh yeah, I feel you 100%.
And everybody's different, but even in the the growing pains and the trenches of State 48, 3 or 4 years ago, what it came down to me was the half-assed communication that I was giving her. Even then, she brought it up. I don't know how many years ago she said it, but she said, I need 3 hours of your day. She's like, you work 12 hours a day. Out of 24, it's 50% of your day is working. I said, true. I'm also building something for us. Yeah. Because I don't live like paycheck to paycheck. I don't like shitty cars. I don't want to live a piece of crap, starter house. Yep. Yeah. And or an apartment or whatever. And so I said, I'm choosing to not live that lifestyle, but I got to put in the work. And she said, cool. I need the kids and I need 3 hours from you. I said, okay, what does that look like? And it came down to 5 to 8 o'clock. And everybody's different, right? Some people don't need this. Your spouse might not care. Your spouse might want more, whatever. But even on the weekends have changed now because I gave up dozens of weekends for years. Yeah. Now I get those back.
Yeah, you're in the position now where you have people that if there's a Saturday thing going on, it's not you that has to go do it.
Whether it's networking event, marketing event, running a trailer, sales, something with Menace stuff, unless we have a planned event that I, specifically block out. But I get my weekends back with my kids. Like I said, 5 kids. We had 6 games last weekend. 5 games last weekend. I mean, it's just, and but I love it. And I made it a priority. But in the beginning, when they're little, there wasn't as many games or any games at all. But during the week, Monday through Friday, I would turn my phone off or on Do Not Disturb and put it away from 5 to 8 o'clock. Because some people can do this. I sucked at this. Some people can still work while being at home. I can't. Yeah. Because I get distracted. I take a phone call, my family immediately gets neglected, or whatever I'm doing is half-assed. Yeah. Like I was literally trying to play catch or play soccer with my kids and be on the phone. It just you're not giving your full energy to that phone call. Oh yeah, and you're gonna make a mistake. Yeah. Or my kids see it, and my 2-year-old, true story, my 2-year-old has done this before. He hasn't done it in 6 months because I stopped. But he literally came up and put his hand in front of my face. I've been looking at my phone. Yeah, and it was whether it's social media, but social media is working for me. It's not play. But so social media, text messages, emails, calendars, whatever. I have my phone, and he would literally come up and put his hand in front of my face. And then I'd have to turn and look at him and be like, why'd you put your hand in front of my face? You're trying to get my attention. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And so from 5 to 8 o'clock, it is very, very hard to get a hold of me for anything. Because that's when and she's like, well, I need 1/8 of your day, not 50% of your day. And And so, and even then, as you're building a business, you can't just go 8 to 5, 9 to 5. It'll take you forever to get it up off the ground, especially if you're doing your job, your normal W-2 job correctly. It's very hard to grow your side business during those time frames. So you have to do it before 9
or after.
So that's like 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. or 5 p.m. to midnight.
Yep.
And so I would do that. I started my days at 4 o'clock, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. I'd put in 2, 3, 4 hours like that, developing the side hustle, whether it was Menace, whether it was State 48 while I was working for my uncle's company or the other company I worked for. And then, but 5 to 8, well, you still have 8 till whenever.
Whenever, yeah.
11, 12, 1 o'clock. And so communicated that with my wife. Some nights I'd spend those hours with my wife. Other times I'd go right back into the office and I'd pound it out for an hour or 2 or 3 to get that little edge. When you do that over and over and over again, it becomes something, right? Especially like when my kids are asleep, that's time for me to grow. It's time for me to work on myself, work on my businesses, and to thrive. Yep. Because 8 to 5, 9 to 5, you're not going to change the world, in my opinion, from 8 to 5, 9 to 5. You make very important decisions and tasks during the day, but so does your competition.
Yep.
So does everybody else. 8 to 5, 9 to 5 is a stereotypical middle class, corporate America time frame. But that's not where businesses are built. They're built in the mornings, they're built in the evenings, and they're built on the weekends.
Yep, the self-development, the time where you can put the investment into yourself.
Yeah, well, whether it's yourself or whether it's building that business, or both, right? I don't go work out at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm here at the office putting in the hours.
Yeah.
So I work out in the morning, but like I said, this morning I woke up at 5:30. From 5:30, so an hour and a half, 5:30 to 7. I did all my social media posting, checked all my emails, listened to a podcast for 30 minutes, and I worked out an hour and a half. I now have it very dialed in. I'm very efficient now. But that might take some people 2 or 3 hours, which is fine. Yeah. But you can't do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. You got to be here. You got to be working. You got to be doing something. And so that's kind of been my biggest thing is put in the work and are your kids awake at 5:30 in the morning?
Nope.
If they're, it's not on purpose, yeah. Right? Your wife's not awake. Your kids aren't awake. So to me, it was 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the State 48 days when I was building it. It was 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning every day. Yeah. But nobody's awake. So I'm not missing out on that time with my wife. I'm not missing out on that time with my kids. Yeah. By the way, date night is once a week, not once a month. It's once a week. It could be whatever day. Sean Whalen, for example, his is on Wednesdays. Like religious, no matter where he's at, no matter what he's doing, he grabs Saxony and they go on a date every single Wednesday. And so with me, it's not necessarily, it's either like a Friday or a Saturday for us. But yeah, we very, very, very seldomly miss date night. So.
All right. So when you went all in on State 48, you had a couple kids already, you had one on the way, just bought a house. I mean, all kind of planned from what I've understood of your background.
Yeah.
Like when you made that decision that okay, I'm building this, but now it's time to go all in. Like I'm no more day job. This is where I'm at, what I'm doing, and I'm gonna provide for these family on my own and do the things.
Yeah. So it's funny. Terrence and I and Nick had a podcast about this. It was actually one of our training sessions. And there's two ways to go about it. And I don't think either one is right or wrong, depending on where you're at. Some people say, Tony Robbins, burn the ships. Mm-hmm. Cool, burn the ships. But if you can't pay for your family and take care of all your bills, in my opinion, that's stupid. Yeah. Now, I also think you should go all in, but make sure that you have your ducks in a row as you go all in. And that's not even a safety net. That's just making sure, and to everybody is different. So, but if I was single, and I didn't have any other commitments with a wife and kids and whatnot to where I would put them and their livelihoods in danger. Mm-hmm. Me, I'll go sleep in a freaking car. But I'm going to make my wife and my 2 kids go sleep in a car. Yeah. You know what I mean? But as Alex Hormozy did that for a while, right? Slept in his car and whatnot. But I promised my wife, and it worked out great, to be honest. It only took me a little over a year from leaving my uncle's company to doing outside sales for another roofing company. And then while I was doing that, it took me about 12 months, 13 months to start State 48. But I was still working. I was still making money. But I was blessed enough to not change my standard of living going from where I was to that because I had a wife and I had kids and I had consistent guaranteed bills, mortgage, all that kind of stuff. And so when I went in, I went all in and when you buy a house, it hits your credit really hard because of the financial commitment. And so you really won't get approved for a boat or a side-by-side, a vehicle for a while because your debt to income ratio is so high.
Yeah.
And what I did is I bought my house, and then before the purchase of my house, when it closed and recorded and hit my credit, I went to the dealership the same day and bought a truck, a $50,000 truck. But think of the financial commitment. I'm already $20,000, $15,000 in for a deposit.
Yeah.
Plus I $10,000 in on my truck. Apart from, furnishing the house, and all those things, and starting a business, right? Going from it wasn't guaranteed, it was straight commission. So I already had the straight commission mentality. Yeah. Some people that get the guaranteed money every Friday, you don't have to get over that when you own a business. It's actually, in my opinion, it's more scary to have a W-2 job than it is to be a straight commission job working for somebody, because your straight commission, you eat what you kill. When you're W-2, you can get a phone call and be canned and be gone, and your revenue and your income goes to zero the next day. Whereas if you're straight commission, even working for somebody, you control your income. You control that. You still might get canned, right? But at least you, if you're producing and putting in the work, you can see the benefits of it. But when you start a business, you're straight commission, right? You eat what you sell, you eat what you kill. And so when I did that, I had a 3-month-old baby, apart from 2 other kids, maybe 3 other kids. And so like I said, I had a newborn, and I just told my wife, I was like, hey, what I was doing there, I want to do here. I told her exactly what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, when I wanted to do it, how we're going to pay for it. And I was like, if I can do that over here, I can do it here for myself. And just went all in and grabbed Dory, who's now my COO, but needed somebody to do the back end books, because I was like, I can sell, I can get the crews to produce it, and I can manage it, but I don't have enough time to do the back end stuff, and I'm not good at it. So know your strengths and know your weaknesses. Yeah. That was a weakness from day one that she still does flawlessly to this day, that I hate, I'm not passionate about, and I don't want to do.
Yeah. So why would you put yourself through that misery in your
it's dumb.
In your business?
Yeah.
So. All right. So now that you've got this mindset of growth, you're owning your own thing, you're doing that. How do you develop your kids that way to where they've got that drive to want to do things on their own?
So honestly, showing them by example. Plain and simple. My 8-year-old son is very good at football. I credit a lot of that to him wanting it, but me also showing him and practicing with him over and over and over and over again. On the flip side, I didn't do that with my 12-year-old because he wasn't into sports. So honestly, he's not very athletic by choice or by not working on it until just recently. He took up tennis. And now he and I play tennis 3-4 days a week, and he's getting good. But he didn't want to touch a ball for the first 12 years of his life. Just wasn't really entertaining it. We tried the t-ball, tried those things, never really jammed it. We never got excited about it. But the biggest thing when it comes to business is show your kids. Don't tell them to do this or don't do that. Show them, hey, we're going to go buy this thing, or dad's buying this thing, or we got this. Why? And I tell my kids, why does dad go to work? 3 things: to serve, to make money, and to pay our bills. In my opinion, to each their own. Those are my 3 things. And I make my kids repeat that. If we called and put them on speaker right now, ask any of my kids, why does dad go to work and work his butt off every day? And that's the thing. If you see, kids are very smart.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely intelligent. They're very, I don't know what the word is. They observe very well.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Of what you are doing and what you aren't doing. If you never cuss in your home, you're very, very seldomly going to hear a cuss word out of your kids, even if you hear it from the outer situations
so
and areas.
Picking it up from school or daycare, outside
school,
influence.
daycare, church, whatever. They're not going to use those words. The words that I use at my house, they use. Yeah. They just do. Whether it's the F-bomb, whether it's you using the Lord's name in vain, whether it's the way you talk to your spouse, right? Yeah. Yelling, not yelling. I'm a yeller. I've been a yeller. I'm working on it. I'm doing much better. But I yell, and my kids shut down, and it sucks and it hurts. And so I've noticed that. My wife's pointed it out. I've gotten very defensive about it. The first probably 6-7 years of our marriage, I did that. I would get angry. I would get frustrated. I would raise my voice, and it never solved anything. All it did is make my kids shut down. And I don't want my kids to shut down, because if they shut down, then when I want to have a legit conversation with them, they're already checked out. They're in defensive mode now. Instead of opening up like a flower to me to have a genuine conversation, they're shut down because I shut that down earlier because I yelled at them. And so the way you talk to your spouse, they will see that. The way you talk to their siblings, they'll see that. I just saw Cash the other day. We were in a Fry's parking lot. There was a Crunch smushed Gatorade bottle. Didn't ask him, didn't do anything. Walk into the truck, picks it up, goes and puts it in the trash. Yeah. Nobody else taught him that other than me and my wife. He may have learned it. Maybe somebody saw him, but you see something once, you're probably not going to do it.
Yeah, but so they're going to be the kid that puts the shopping cart away and does the little things that are just
because he sees me putting the shopping cart away. Be like, hey, put the shopping cart away. Dad, you never do that. It's like, hey, don't drink. Dad, there's beer cans all over the place. Yeah. Dad, don't smoke. Bro, you vape and do all that kind of stuff. Like, you have to be very intentional of what you're doing around your kids because they will see it and they will replicate it. Yeah, and they will think it's okay.
And whether you think your kids are paying attention or not, if they're on their phone, the game, whatever, they're paying attention to you. So my 4-year-old's shown me that a bunch recently. Like she'll do things that I'm like, how do you know? Like you were in the other room when that happened. Like what do you know about that?
Dude, talk to your kids about money, man. Tell them, hey, hey, Dad, how much money did you make? Nobody will tell their kids how much money they make. I'll tell them. Yeah. And they'll go tell their friends and brag. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that I want them, people are so scared to talk about money because they've been told not to talk about money as like a bad thing. But when it comes time to go to Disneyland or to go buy those new shoes or those cleats or that soccer gear or whatever.
It matters.
Then it's important.
Yeah.
Right? People are just so financially stupid when it comes to money because they've been programmed. If you go listen to MenaceCon 2, you can buy the recording at, I think, menacecon.com. You can buy the recording. It's like $97. But Sean Whalen had probably one of the most inspiring talks I've ever heard of in my life. And I've heard thousands. I thrive on that stuff. Yeah. I'm a podcast junkie. But his talk at MenaceCon 2 about talking about how we're programmed was, absolutely amazing. From the kids, school system, government, church, media, you name it. We're all programmed, even from our parents, right? What to do, what not to do. So be very, very intentional about what you say, what you don't say. Like, oh, I didn't talk about money. Cool. Well, you wonder why they're doing stupid stuff with money. You never talked about it. You didn't go blow it on strippers and hookers in Vegas, but you also didn't show them and tell them, hey, don't spend all of it. And if you are, make sure you're going to make it back in doing X or Y or Z.
Yeah. No, my parents didn't talk to me about money. It was just,
my dad about Dave Ramsey. Yeah. And look where that got me. Freaking nowhere. Got me freaking broke as a skunk for the first 10 years of my life. From a mission. I'm like, dude, I was like, listen to the wrong people, man. Don't ever listen to people that are not making money. Like genuine, like making money.
Yeah. So life in general, but specifically fatherhood, how important it is to have an example or a mentor or someone that you can utilize their example of?
Well, it's very simple. Kids will look up to a male role model figure. Is that going to be you or is it going to be somebody else? Terrence mentioned it before. He didn't do it. His dad was a mechanic. And for a lot of that stuff, when it came to, financial success and entrepreneurialism and all that stuff, he didn't go to his dad for that. He went to someone else's dad. Yeah. So very simple. Are your parents, are your kids going to pay attention to you and follow your leadership and your role model and your example? They're going to follow somebody's.
Yeah.
Is it going to be that rapper on YouTube? Right? Is it going to be that school teacher? I had amazing school teachers that were mentors. I'm still friends with 2 of them today. Yep. And I graduated over 15 years ago. Is it going to be a church leader? Right?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be you as their dad that you didn't make it a priority and didn't do it yourself and take it upon yourself to be that mentor and that leader to them? And so they went somewhere else. And now you're mad or you don't have as good a relationship with them because you didn't make it a priority. Right. It's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah. So
plain and simple.
So set yourself up to be the example for your kids, the good example for your kids that they want to emulate and learn from.
Yeah, very simple. Like, do you want to have kids that return the shopping carts that leave it out there? Do you want to be Dude, just the other day, like I said, my son's 8 years old, 9 years old, and I walked by and a couple of friends started dropping the F-bomb. 8 years old. And I'm like, dude, if I ever hear that out of your mouth, they're any of my kids. I said, you ever say that in front of me or in my house, I won't beat your ass, although I want to.
Yeah.
I was like, but I will make sure that you call your parents and tell them what kind of language you used in my house, and you will never be welcome at my house. My house is a fun zone.
Yeah.
We have scooters, we have bikes, we have motorcycles, we have skateboards, we have balls, we have downstairs, full to plant, and I let anybody in the neighborhood come and party at our house every day. Every day, there's 5 to 10 kids at our house any given day, front yard, backyard, downstairs. But I was like, if you ever use that language in my house, especially at 8 years old, like, you will never be welcome in my home. They hear it from somebody.
Yeah. You can't control all of the influences.
Yeah, you can't control. Yeah, you can't control the ones at school and stuff like that. But the question is, are they getting the volume of the example from school? Are they getting the volume from the government? Are they getting the volume from social media? Or are they getting it from you and your spouse? Because the volume will win. They hear somebody drop the F-bomb once, they're not going to remember it and say it 1,000 times. They're just not. We aren't. Yeah. Right? You see a cool car once, you're not going to be infatuated by that car and want to go get it and buy it and drive it. But if your neighbor has it and he waxes it every Saturday and you see it over and over and over again, you're like, dude, I want that car. Yeah. But you see it randomly once, you're like, it's just not going to be there. So the volume of the exposure with your kids and what's going on, you want to be very careful. Be that leader, be that example for them, especially now more than ever. We used to have, and this is not getting political, we used to have better examples in our government, in the media, whatever that was, the father figure, the role models in schools. Like the shit they're teaching in schools now is freaking ridiculous. Yep. I'm almost tempted to pull my kids out and do private school. Grant Cardone's done it. Several others have already done it, and I think it's genius because
Ryan Pineda, Bradley, they're all
Bradley's kids. Yeah, they're all homeschooled, and I think it's actually a genius thing to do because you're freaking like the shit that they're putting in our kids. You have to beat it. You have to fight it. Even in churches, it's getting wishy-washy. You got to stick to what you want your kids to grow up as, and just continue to be there for them and be the role model for them. But show them, don't tell them.
All right. So, last question. What does Dad's Next Project mean to you?
So, Dad's Next Project, you kind of told me what it meant to you before we press record. When I hear Dad's Next Project, my dad taught me how to do a lot of things. He taught a lot of projects, right? He taught me, he would help me, he would show me, and then the second time it happened, he'd make me do it. So changing the bike tire on my bike. I know how to change a bicycle tire. Some guys literally don't, right? Fixing chains on bikes, changing the oils in your car, rotating, doing discs and pads, brake pads, that kind of stuff. Some people don't care about that kind of stuff. My dad did that, whether he didn't financially have the money to do it or he wanted to spend quality time with me and show me. Yeah. I think it was more of that. But for me, Dad's Next Project is like, in my opinion, your kids are your project. And that's a never-ending project. That never goes away. To me, it's you have an opportunity to bless the lives of a lot of people. Do not forget that the most important people's lives you should bless are the ones inside the walls of your home. It was one of the LDS apostles actually mentioned that. There's no greater success or no greater opportunity to change people's lives. I'm butchering it like crazy, but within the walls of your own home. Yeah. Sean Whalen talks about that like crazy. He talks about get your house in order. And it's kind of funny, all in on this. He talks about getting your house in order from your spouse to your kids to all those things. We are so willing and eager to go and talk shit about other people's kids or parents or their lifestyles or the media or the government or religion, and your house is a freaking nightmare. If you get to keep the doors open and have a microphone blasting to the neighborhoods, what you say in there, what you teach in there, or what you don't say in there, what you don't teach in there, what you allow to happen, that is the concerning part, because we're so quick to judge other people and use those distractions. Government, media, religion, schools, we use those as distractions for us not being the person that we should be to our spouse and to our kids in our own home, your number one project should be you. Number one. Because you can't be a good dad if you're not a good person. It's impossible. Because you're never going to give off those good vibes and those good attributes if you're in jail or if you're a raging alcoholic. It's very hard to be a good example to your kids when you're high on meth, right? Or when you're never there. So yes, you need to grind it out as a business owner when you're building it and doing those things, but make time for your kids. Just like on your calendar, biggest takeaway from this whole entire podcast episode, I would say, is make time for yourself. Put it on your calendar. In my opinion, calendar is king. If it doesn't happen on there, it's not going to happen. It might happen by accident, but it's not going to happen on purpose.
Yeah.
Make time for yourself, for your health and your fitness. Make time for your spouse. Make time for your kids. Put that on there. I'm spending time with my kids from here to here. On Saturdays, when do you spend time with your kids? If you got to work, cool. You don't need to work 12, 18 hours on a Saturday. And if you do, are you spending time with your kids in the morning before you go? Are you going and then coming back and spending 2 or 3 hours with them? Or are you doing it at night? Right? What does Sunday look like? Right? Are you hungover from Saturday so you don't wake up till noon? You miss out on 2, 3, 4, 6 hours with your kids and your spouse because you made poor choices the night before? Right? What does that look like? So be very intentional with spending quality time with yourself, with your wife, and with your kids.
Awesome. So you heard it here, folks. Prioritize self, spouse, kids. Take time for all of it. Make sure you're a good person so your kids can be good people.
100%.
And Jason, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely. Right here, like it says, Pillow says, be an example, be a menace, man. You got to be an example for everyone around you because people are looking, people are watching. People need leadership. They need guidance, right? Whatever that looks like, but they need it and they need it bad. So, and then be a menace is just like whatever everybody else tells you, screw them and do the exact opposite. So,
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Cool.